But you heard Jim raving about them, in particular Gilt.com. Rue La La is another one. Offers one-day sales on high-end products. They're popping up everywhere, and even Amazon wants in on the action. But what are these companies really worth? Hillery Nye is principal and founder of Madrona Law Group, and Grant Cardone is author of If You're Not First, You're Last. An interesting way to motto in life. Hillery, let me start with you, though. You've taken a look at a lot of these. We said Rue La La, Ideally, Haute Look, Gilt Group. There are quite a few of them out there. I guess the first question would be, do they all do basically the same thing in the same way, or are they differentiated?
I think they basically do the same thing in the same way. They sort of rely on this idea of creating scarcity and creating some momentum around a time-limited sale, and it is offered to a select group of people, and it creates its own social phenomenon and desire to buy something right away. It's an impulse purchase put online.
And Hillary, you like, I mean, as a concept, do you think this works? It has longevity to it.
Oh, I think it's a fantastic concept. I love it. And I was talking to some of the women at the bus stop this morning with my kids, and we were talking about it, and we were saying, we love these things, but my gosh, please don't put our 401ks in these companies.
All right. Now, I want to get to the valuation issue in a moment, because I know you are very concerned. Grant, I know, though, that you feel that just because the companies are all doing the same thing in sort of the same way doesn't mean that there isn't room for a whole lot of them to be, well, valued pretty highly.
That's right, Aaron. There's no shortage of American businesses that are willing to drive traffic and get out of obscurity with new buyers for their products and services. And these are not, the issue about valuation is these are not the bubble internet companies of 15 years ago. These are real companies producing real revenues at speeds that have never been seen before. And to Wall Street, speed of revenue growth equals valuation. For instance, Groupon goes black ink in 7 months. That's not been done by internet companies. It does $1 billion in 2 years. It took Apple 8 years to do $1 billion. It took Google 5.5 years. This is a real company with no shortage of companies that are willing to pay a Groupon or the likes, the Gilts, to say, hey, drive traffic to my front door.
And it's interesting because you bring up Groupon, since Groupon is, well, an incredibly low barrier to entry concept, which is why a lot of people were saying right. It would be just a quick high flyer and then come crashing down to earth, but it hasn't.
No, and I think it's the other players that are going to crash. It's the other 100 chasing a Groupon that are either going to get scooped up. Because look, Groupon's gone from 1 country to 35 countries in 2 years. It did 20% of what Facebook did in January. It did 20% of the same earnings that Facebook did last year. Facebook's worth $75 billion, which I doubt personally. Then,
right.
Based on Microsoft's revenue to valuation or Google revenue to valuation, then a Groupon would be worth $25 billion. And it'd be a good investment.
Hillary, let me ask you, since I know you like the concept, but you think they're overvalued, give some examples of some of these sites where they're valued and what you think is actually the fair valuation.
So, for example, I think if you differentiate these sites at all, it's really based on what it is that they offer at a discount. So you've got sites that offer fashion, apparel. You've got sites that offer experiences or discounts on some sort of service. And I think the difference is important when you look at valuations, because if you look at somebody like a Hot Look that was recently acquired by Nordstrom, that is based on apparel. And now you've got a major traditional industry player creating more value for their own company using a new means of distribution, and they also have some ability to control their inventory, which is a real big issue for a lot of these companies that are trying to get into the space. So in my mind, that's a more realistic valuation of about $180, $200 million, whereas somebody like a Gilt, gosh, they got to be feeling guilty looking for $2 billion or more in an IPO.
Right. I know you say it's valued at $1 billion, worth $500 million. Well, we shall see. It's an interesting group, and thanks for coming on and talking about it with us, Hillary and Grant.